Asan Anu. Some of the components of Anu Nation are A New Life Global Ministries, Enlightenment and Transformation, Sadulu House, and Osiris Life Spiritual Services. SaduluHouse.com is the school component of Anu Nation, where spiritual empowerment through education and training is emphasized. One way that is accomplished is through our monthly webinars. Our webinars are packed with foundational information, rituals, and live instruction to empower your spiritual work. At SaduluHouse.com, you can view our diverse list of topics for this year that range from meditation to sex magic. And you can also register for any of the webinars at your convenience, sign up for our introductory Orisha class, schedule a spiritual reading, and sign up for the Anu Spiritual Training course. Enlightenment and Transformation is the media component of Anu Nation. Here, you can view all of our archived shows from over the years to our current segments. They include Chief Speaks, Masterminds Monday, Anu Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Anu Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, AlphaOmegaStore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from Anu Nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with Anu Nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.
Arrivo yo, arrivo, guay, Peace. Welcome all, everyone, to KMunity. Sounds so beautiful, don't you agree? I know a lot of times I come in a little sooner, but I felt today was a special moment and to give honor to Iyalode, or as many know her as Mama Shola, or as others may know her as Oshun, the mother of outside, the one who sings. So I thought it would be great to give that honor and that tribute a little bit longer and extend it on this day. So I want to jump right into it. And peace, as always, Sister Michelle, Brother Shaga, Sister Marva, Sister Nicole, and of course, Sister Divine. I know who you are, Divine. And I'm still looking for that show too, by the way. That show. All right, I didn't forget about you. But yeah, so today's going to be a good session. Now, for those of you who tuned in last night, you know that we had Sister Lola on, and we discussed, I guess, the falsification of leadership and conscious collectives, and really just kind of discussed sometimes being able to or having that ability to decipher between what is being presented to you and what is really being projected, inside of the presentation. So I think it was last night, our 9 p.m. conversation. It was a fun conversation, but I think it was also an informative one. Divine said it's coming. Okay, cool, cool. I'm gonna hold you to that. No pressure, no pressure. All right, but I'm gonna hold you to that. But today I have a great sister on that. Uh, she did a segment some time ago. I think it was 2015. She can correct me when she comes on. But she did a segment basically on toxic relationships, and I have to admit I don't remember completely how I came across it, but I saw it and I thought it was such a tasteful and intelligent and classy presentation that she gave in regards to some of the pitfalls that women fall into when they are looking for family, and looking for family amongst those who say that they are walking the same walk as them, but not just looking for family, those who are also just connecting with the complementary sex, some of the tricks and games they fall for. And last night's segment was like a great precursor to today's conversation, because last night's segment, we looked at some of the game, right? We looked at it as humorous as some parts of it were. And of course, just as I suspected, there were people who took things out of context, didn't understand what we're saying, and you could see that reflected in the comments. But hey, it's all G, right? So she gave this presentation, and she kind of broke down some things and some solutions in terms of what we could do, or what women could do. I mean, let me say what women could do, what women could look out for, and some of the signs of situations that may not be totally healthy. And like I said, I really thought it was a great presentation, because a lot of times when you get that kind of information, it's just filled with a lot of derision and assumption, and emotion. And she was able to present it in a way that, again, it wasn't falsified. At least I don't think it was falsified. She shared some of her own personal chronicle, but on top of that, she was able to speak about some real viable solutions. Now, of course, the video has no views because that's what happens when you provide solutions. They get buried under the YouTube basement. Now if she was on there just screaming and ranting, I mean, of course, the video would have 500,000 views, and these Negroes ain't shit, and with going through that whole motion. But we've heard a lot of that already. We haven't heard a lot of the solutions. So I'm going to bring her on right now, and I'm going to let her go into it, because we're going to jump right into it, and we'll go from there. Sister Leah?
Greetings.
Hey, peace, peace, peace. Okay, cool. Yeah, you sound nice and clear. I guess you got the phone thing worked out how you want.
Okay.
Okay, cool, cool. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of intro the family a little bit. And peace, everyone in the chat room. I see you. I just kind of wanted to intro the family a little bit on why, because I don't actually have guests on my show. So obviously, if I do bring someone on the show, it's because I'm really co-signing and feeling whatever it is that they're talking about. So I wanted to just give the family a little bit of a precursor, as to why I was so appreciative of the information that you presented. Could you provide us with some of the motivation surrounding, why you actually put the video up?
Absolutely, and I would like to preface this by giving thanks for your reaching out to me. I have been listening to some of your recordings for quite some time, and it has been truly informative and a blessing. So I want to give thanks to you for putting in the time and effort on this platform, because I know it takes a lot.
For sure.
I want to say peace to the family. Again, my name is Leah Bayaka. And I want to give thanks also to my ancestors in the Egg Bay for walking with me and giving me the foundation to move forward. A little bit of a background, being that I'm 45 years old at this time, I have been in the various movements since I was 19. And I have experienced quite a bit, just on a personal level. And once I reached around 39 or 40, it took me a while. I'm a little bit slow, but I came to some decisions and some understanding in terms of the trot that I had walked thus far. And it became, during my second marriage, it became quite evident to me that one of the things that we as sisters have been missing oftentimes is having great input and leadership from elder sisters in the various movements. And again, I always only speak from my own personal experience, as well as also the sisters that I have known for many years. And many of us have had the same experience, and only the names and the faces have changed over the years. However, many of us are experiencing first the great love and the great initiative and the great desire to do more for our people, to do our part in bringing about a greater awareness and to elevate us to where we feel that we need to be as a people. And a lot of us come into the movements, the various movements, with quite a deal of youthful energy, perspective, inspiration, and hope. And then we end up going through many years of trials and tribulations. And many of us, with various results, happen to end up in very much the same space after several years, which is disappointment, disillusionment, and many of us step away from the movement. And this is in regards to not only the various issues we may have had within various groups, organizations, but also within our personal relationships. And as women, also for men, but as women, being as we do bear the children, and when these relationships, start out toxic, much less end toxic, a lot of times we are the ones who are dealing with raising the youths on our own, as well as the trauma that has taken place. And the psychological shifts that we have had to go through in dealing with our initial impetus for entering the movement, and then what happens thereafter. So the reason why I made that video is that after 20-some years in relationships, I had 2 10-year marriages, and finally made that move after 10 years in the second one to where I said, I'm good. I really need to, and actually 5 of those years I stayed in because I said, I walked into this. No one handcuffed me, and I need to take responsibility for my actions. And so I stayed in an additional 5 years because I said I didn't want my youth to go through another separation. However, it got to the point where I saw that it was also damaging the youth and that there was no recourse, at least at my disposal. And so when you're on a sinking ship, sometimes, we do take corrective actions as mothers. So the reason why I did that video, I was active at that time on Periscope, so it's actually a Periscope video that I then uploaded to YouTube. And I had quite a bit of active participation and following also on Facebook. And so a lot of the sisters that would read my posts and engage in discussions would follow me on Periscope. So it was a very active and participatory, you know, discussion that I had. So
Right.
if you do happen to watch the video, you may see me, you know, because their comments were just on fire. So I'm reading their comments and trying to talk. But the main point, that's going a long ways around. But the main point for me doing that is because of what I speak about on a regular basis on my on the Facebook, which I've since deactivated my account. However, I had a lot of young sisters in my inbox. And so that's what made me begin to really think about my own journey. And I'm saying these things and on my various posts, which seem evident to me, but I had a lot of sisters that were commenting, asking questions about their own life. A lot of sisters 20, 21 years old, in their 20s, just coming in, and they'd already had some fairly horrible experiences. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of various conversations I've had along the years with sisters my age that have also mentioned that if only they had had elder sisters to really talk to going in, that things might have been different for them and their choices might have been different. So that was really what created that particular Periscope. And I got a lot from it just internally. It helped me to release and clarify, but it also helped to solidify some of the experiences because we can't all be crazy. Mm-hmm. When we all have not all, but a vast majority have many of the same experiences.
Right.
So that's why I decided to, do that Periscope.
Okay. Now, let me just give the calling number real quick before I go to my next piece. 515-605-9862 for anyone who wants to call in and listen or ask intelligent and responsible questions based on what we're speaking about. Then feel free. 515-605-9862. Hit the number 1. So, sis, there was something that you had kind of shared in terms of what you were speaking, because a couple of things that caught me. Like I said, it wasn't just the fact that you weren't, whether you're angry or not, I don't know, and you have every right to be. So a lot of times we use that shaming tactic of you sound bitter, you sound angry to shut people down through deflection. But but you at least present it in a way where the information could be received and taken in and understood, which I thought was great. Because again, like I said, a lot of times when you approach that subject of male-female mating, especially in the melanoid community, it gets really hostile and it just gets real ignorant, and you start to see the white supremacist agenda come out in both sides. A lot of times you see those chips activate and everyone's now going for the jugular. So one of the things that you had expressed that kind of caught my attention was that you had spoke about brothers who a lot of times posture themselves as business owners, and you had specifically went through the some of the things to look at when a brother comes to you and says, hey, I guess I don't know how they approach y'all, I like you or whatever, Hotep, I got a business, whatever that, I mean, I don't know, 'cause I'm improvising here, so just ride with me for a little bit. I'm improvising, but when they come at you, like one sister shared something recently. What did she say? The brother said, "Peace, God," something like that. I guess that was supposed to spark a larger conversation because, he called me God. People use those different terms to kind of create this delusion of beguilement. What are you talking about? And the game starts. But one of the things that you had expressed was like, if a brother comes to you and says, I have a business, right? You kind of got into some of the things that you should look for as soon as you hear that. Can you share some of that, if you remember?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely, yes, because that was my second husband. So Um, Oftentimes, uh, can I preface this though? One of the issues that seems to be pervasive through all of the threads of our various conversation on this issue
Mm-hmm.
is a serious situation that people don't like to hear, but that I call culture vulturism.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that I have found through experience that many within the quote-unquote conscious community are in fact deeply doused in the same culture vulturism that they, profess is one of the most horrible traits for Europeans, white people, whatever you want to call them. So what that means for me and what I try to impress upon the sisters is that just because a brother is, wearing his dashiki or he's got his locks, or a sister for that matter, and just because they have Heru, various names that they're calling themselves, and just because they, have various rants on their various social media pages, does not mean that they still are not aware of the European inside of them. So what I mean by that is that many of us who are dealing with or who have entered into movements, it is a reactionary stance, which means if you're going to react to something, typically you are dealing with an emotion that is imbalanced. Now, you can correct that. That's just my opinion, and create a very balanced perspective and still do the work. Mm-hmm. But until the balance is created within yourself so that, okay, maybe a reaction to white supremacy brought you here, but now let me work on balancing my inner self so that I can fulfill my highest destiny within myself, irregardless of white people's presence or not. And so when we have these movements, my particular perspective was not only just the Black conscious, but it was the Rastafari movement.
Right.
So, and I heard from sisters who were Israelites, sisters who various, religious perspectives, that we somehow all seem to have very similar experience and outcomes with our toxic relationships. And so that is because they were based on a foundation that was European still. And so when you're dealing with a brother who might be Rastafari or Hebrew, whatever it is going on, there is still a concept of an imbalance in dealing with themselves within the divine masculine energy, and also with dealing with the sisters within the divine feminine energy. So when a brother who is dealing with this approaches a sister, he's going to have different channels and means through which he's going to approach her, because basically what we're dealing with is a predatory type of mentality, which is very much similar to the European, which is very much similar to having zero respect for the divine feminine energy that he is approaching. So one may come at you through business, another may come at you through nutrition, another may come at you through throwing a whole bunch of biblical or comedic text, whatever he's dealing with. And so there's an angle to it. So as to what you were referring to, the business aspect would come through this whole situation of I'm building, okay? And unfortunately, it's one of the words I cannot stand. Here because
let's build together.
You sat me with let's build. I'm fixing to run in that direction because I don't want to hear it. Another issue is because of the culture vulturism. So now we're saying that I am going to view you as Europeans view their white women. I'm going to come at you at an angle which would then replicate what I call spiritual pimpism. And so these are spiritual pimps who are using one tactic or another, and it's no different from me than any pimp on the street who is accessing and utilizing feminine energy, work, and motion for his own benefit. Now, if it's done in a divine manner within a family, because everyone is dealing with and expressing their roles to the utmost of their abilities, then have at it, because she is also accessing and utilizing his masculine divinity in order to deal with what he brings to the family.
Absolutely.
However, with a brother's and a sister, which I have this business, and I'm dealing with we going over to Shashamani. We're sending books over there to Ethiopia, or another one was, hey, I'm deep into I'm dealing with Dr. Sevi, before he passed, and we me and my wife, we have these projects going on, and we're about to buy some land in Honduras, and we're doing this, and you look like a sister who really has your stuff together. So I just want to let you know about the business things that I have going on in my life, and I'm doing this film, and and it's all of this about what I'm doing. Now, one of the issues is when we're dealing with social media, first of all, that was my problem. And again, the reason why, when you mentioned earlier about the lack of anger and rancor and et cetera, because the only way that I have been able to progress positively is by taking full responsibility for my part and for what I walked into knowingly, and for my refusal to view the red flags as anything other than it's just a little something, and we as women, one of the things we think is I can change this and I can change that, and et cetera, but it was all based on, for me personally, a sense of low self-esteem and a feeling that I could not do better for myself, and looking for the true light and divine inspiration outside of myself. So I walked into that. So there is my lack of anger, because otherwise I could not progress. So when he came at me with, okay, I have this business, and I do this and that, and he had a first wife. And so it was, and she and I, we split the bills, et cetera, and I didn't question it, because I had already seen his long texts online, and we were involved in a group that was working towards, advancement for Ethiopian youth, et cetera. So I felt like he had been vouched for because he was already in the group. And at that time I was 30. And, I was still of the thinking that as a dutiful, conscious woman, I should not question anything or anything that might be uncomfortable. I should not question a brother, because otherwise I would be unfaithful. I would be seen as a feminist. I would be, basically he looks okay online, so, et cetera, et cetera. Also, we were not in the same city when we first engaged with one another, which is another huge issue I would like to.
So let me ask you this. How exactly did you two meet up? Was it through Facebook you started, conversing with one another?
It was actually, since this was 30, there wasn't, so what MySpace, I said, so it's 15 years ago, there wasn't even Facebook. So this was when Yahoo groups were really big.
Oh, okay.
And then there was this African-centered website that a lot of Rastas and various others, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was a poppin' message board.
Okay.
Outside of Yahoo groups. So we met through there.
Okay.
And I was in New York. I'm sorry. I was in San Diego, and he was in Brooklyn.
How old was he at the time?
Totally across the country and ridiculous. So, this is why.
How old was he at the time?
He was 36, and I was 30.
Okay. And his first wife was around the same age?
I'm sorry?
His first wife was also around the same age, around 36 as well?
Actually, he was older.
Oh, she was older.
She was older.
Okay.
And he later let me know that, once he started the Mac and getting the game on, that, he wanted a younger wife because he did want more children.
Okay.
So the thing that I would like to share with sisters, anytime, whether you're in the same city or not, is if it's a situation of additional wives or whatever, your first go-to is speak to the woman. Always. Because I have had other sisters come to me, as well as my own situation. Whatever is being said, if the first wife cannot vouch for it, you have a problem, and she has a problem. Now, if it's just initially, as I said, it's in a group, we're working and all of that, but it's amazing how very quickly it turns from doing the works to some personal conversation. Okay. So now, once you've gone through, a couple hours of the works, because we had a group, and as usual, it was 5 or 7 of them. 5 of them didn't, no, so it was 7, because 5 didn't show up for the meeting time that we were to plan and get going with this organization, and we were the only 2 that showed up to the online, I think it was a group IM or something we were supposed to be doing. We were the only 2 that showed up, so we ended up talking for hours on there, and it very quickly turned into, interest, et cetera, et cetera. So from that, what you want to do is you really want to investigate the person. You really want to fully find out who is this person, check their website, check their reviews, go in and especially if it's long distance, you're going to want to look at all of their other things that are going on. And most certainly, to be honest, I would personally say long distance really, just cease and desist until you can get there personally where you both can be in the same area. It's just not possible because it takes some time to really and truly get to know a person. If it is a situation where it's a business and he's wanting you to front this, that, and the other, first of all, in this day and age, we're kind of mixing two topics, which one is business and one is relationships.
Nah, mash it all together because, what I'm doing, and I'm sure the listeners have noticed, I'm real quiet. So I'm letting you flow. So this is a female style dialogue because you're all over the place. You taking us all around the world, all around the mulberry bush. Now, if it was me, I'd be like, hold on, wait a minute. I asked this question, answer this. So we're not doing that. I'm gonna let you flow. You just take it on the female unicorn wings, and however you want to say it. Mash it all together. Express it however you want to express it. You rock.
Thanks, and I like that because it's a stew, and I'm cooking a stew right now.
Right.
If we're discussing the food, that's not the food. When we're discussing the business and the relationship, the thing is that one of the problems with women is that we come into relationships with a whole lot of baggage, misinformation, and a lack of self-knowledge. And so many of these terms like know thyself and whatnot are thrown around so that we really miss the distilled version of what we're discussing here. And because a lot of us have not had the background of a father in the home and seeing a healthy and a balanced relationship, we go out there into the world seeking many things that should first come from within. And so one of the things that a lot of the sisters have related to me as well as my own experience is that we go into a relationship without actually knowing the man fully, without having taken the time to discover his character and his nature and what he's really about. We take certain keywords and we run with it. And so when a man comes to you talking about his business and what he's doing, we are not to be looking for his potential. We are to be looking for what is actually real and what is verifiable, because that is the only evidence that you have as to how he is now and how he will be and react in the future. So any business claims and designs and goals and whatnot, if you are not able to track that both today and from the past, it's a red flag, and it is simply a pipe dream that is not verifiable. And so when a man comes to you talking about, I got this going on, I got that going on, if you are not asking any questions, and if one of the second or third sentences out of his mouth is how you can financially contribute to his deal, his dream, his whatever, that needs to be a red flag to you. Because if a man is not able to build the foundation on his own, it is not necessarily the truth that he will be able to do that in the future, whether you contribute to it or not. And that's just speaking from my own personal experience, because I was told, I got this business, this online computer business, consulting, I've got all these clients. And when I asked, what project? I'm working on this, I'm working on that. But I never, saw any reviews. I never saw any finished products.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw a client list. I never saw any of that. So that when it finally came down, and then now there was the request, my computer broke. Can you help me with this? And we're already a couple of months in, and now I find myself buying computers, and then it's this and that. But meanwhile, there's a discussion of, me and my wife, we cover half, I do half, she does half, et cetera, et cetera. But I had yet to talk to the wife, had yet to ask her what's really going on and what is his business, what is he really doing. So any request for funds, any request to fix something, any request to contribute financially should be a red flag to a sister, because a man who is approaching a woman to be his mate and to be his wife should already be able to care for her, should already be able to maintain her. That's my opinion as a woman at 45 years old.
Okay, so that let me jump in on that one, because that was something I heard in the video that I wish you kind of would have explored a little bit more. Because you said a man, I think you were speaking about polygyny specifically, and you were like, a man shouldn't really be looking for more than one wife if he can't support them. Now, I'm going to just share my perspective as a man who does engage in plurality and has been doing it for a very long time successfully. My thing is, I'm not taking care of anyone. We could take care of each other, but I'm not buying wives. I'm not an Arab. So when you come into my situation, I don't need you. I only bring women in my life really for pleasure. I don't need women. I want them. And so I definitely in alignment with, he should be able to maintain himself. I'm definitely all with that. Now, the idea of, I'm not negating what you're saying, but I want you to just expound on it a little bit more. And whatever your perspective is your perspective, But as far as women, especially when you bring on a woman who has a child, who's already started her family before you came along, or she's up there in age, as I see it, she should be able to maintain herself. The rules change a little bit depending on the situation and the circumstance, but the idea of, and I'm not saying that you're saying that. So that's, again, why I want to go down that road a little bit. The idea of, okay, I have a wife and I'm supporting her in that, like, she's not working, or she works some little light thing and contributes when she feels like it. I want another wife, so I have to be able to do that 2 times over, really defeats the actual advantage of having a plural household where you have the real multiple incomes and not just people pussyfooting around and saying, well, here's a little $100, here's a little this, here's a little that to contribute to the family pot. But meanwhile, the man becomes a mule to 2 or 3 or 4 women. Now, whenever I hear women say, and I'm not saying you said that, that's why I want to keep clarifying, but whenever I hear, well, you shouldn't have more than one wife unless you can support them, my mind always goes to that. So you're thinking I should buy wives. And if I'm buying a wife, then I definitely should be buying your subservience, because now you're like a servant. So I know there's support financially, but there's also emotional support. So I think in a healthier sense, when I try to look at it objectively, I'll say, well, maybe they're also speaking about the ability to listen to multiple women, to sexually support the sexual survival of multiple women, to support the multiple households in terms of being present and being that guide and that leader and having the energy, not just paying 3 or 4 mortgages and basically curating 3 or 4 women, having 3 or 4 kept women. So, and if that's what you're saying, cool. That's the feminine perspective. But I would just like to hear a little bit more on that.
Well, I the current discussion that we seem to be having in the American context certainly varies from traditional occurrences of polygyny in various cultures. So I do see a variety of options in regards to that type of relationship. When we say that first of all, I do agree with you that a man should be able to maintain, first of all, himself. And the main reason why I was speaking on that subject of multiple relationships in that particular video was because most of the sisters that I have talked with and my own situation was not based on the man being able to first, as the first step and foundation, maintain himself,
right,
but rather that the man was running around trying to gather multiple women so that they could support him.
Mm-hmm. They would be ATMs, basically.
And the household.
Right.
Exactly. And that's, again, bringing it back to the spiritual pimpism. There's not much difference. So coming up with these false businesses, all of these illusions, all of these future goals, I just need you to support this and support that, while he's basically chilling at home, as an internet warrior, is what I have experienced and is what I have seen.
What's an internet warrior? What's an internet warrior?
Oh, you know.
I know, but it was funny, so I really want to hear it again. Holding
forth, ranting about his kingship and his masculine divinity, and his 5, 6 different hyphenated names. In that, he's got an opinion on everything, about everything, and what we need to be doing, and what he's fixing to go get ready to do, which never actually occurs, but he's always fixing to, and so right. It's fighting battles online and cursing every white this and that and all of that, but that we don't see it on the ground. We don't see it with any effectiveness, and we don't see it with any results which would, allow us to move forward as people, as a group, as a family, community, what have you.
Okay.
So these internet warriors are many times the ones who are gathering women in all, 10 different zip codes.
Oh, you know what? Let me address that. Can we address that for a second? I want to address that for a second. And when I say address it, I want you to shed some light on this. You just said gathering 10 different women in 10 different zip codes. Now, I'm going to share something that I witnessed, and you tell me as a woman who's obviously observed this a bit, if it's as widespread as I think it is. Because I don't spend too much time on social media, so I'm really kind of an outsider to a lot of this. I've seen a lot of situations where people have claimed to have a plural family, a household, and these are, and when I say people, I'm talking about males. Now, males, there's a difference, but males, adult males have said, I have all these different women, or I got 2 or 3 wives, but they seem to be like social media wives. Like, I'm thinking there's a phenomenon going on where people are establishing families virtually and probably not even seeing each other. Because I've seen situations where people have brought women into their families online and then broke up online. You know, so it began and ended on Facebook. So I don't know if this is a widespread. You could probably shed some light on this, but when you just said that, it brought that to my attention. I was wondering if you've seen that as well. People who kind of racked up like Twitter and Facebook family, quote unquote.
Absolutely. I mean, but this is a part of what bothers me to a certain extent in regards to this new thing that we have, which is social media. Okay. Because people are creating relationships and friendships and marriages oftentimes without having ever met in person. Now, one of the benefits is that you can meet many people from various and have various input and that you might not have ever met before. So there are many benefits to social media. But when you get into the savagery of this whole internet dating situation going on, you have all of that. So yes, that I have experienced it. I've seen it. And typically both the entrance into it and the exit is extra messy, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very public, it seems.
In public, but that's all a part of it. Like we've created this whole new alter reality, which is not based on anything, which again is really not helping the situation when we get down to the issue of integrity. When we get down to the issue of character, because people can be anything they want on the internet, and they can say all that they want, and they can have all the businesses and all of these so-called post memes and whatnot that makes it look like they've really got it going on. They've got this program, they've got this seminar, all of that makes it can appear as if they really have a lot going on, particularly if it's a woman or a man who approaches talking about how great their business is. If you are not able to verify that with your own eyes in person, your best bet is to not go in that route. And to answer your question regarding, you know, your personal thoughts on that, yes, indeed. I mean, at this point on polygyny, at this point, where we are in America with so many, sisters that do have youth and they are no longer in relationships or marriage, or they may be older, you know, you may be able to safely create situations where you want to say, okay, well, she's taking care of herself and I'm taking care of myself, but we are still in a relationship. However, I would still, based on my own personal experience for the sisters, you know, I would still caution you prior to any type of multi or multiple relationship, if you are going into it solely for emotional support and sexual support, you know, that's you doing you. If you are able to take care of yourself and you just want a good person, a good charactered man to be in your life, that is one thing, particularly if you have a situation where he lives in another city, or you may live in the same city, but you all have, you know, your own homes, etc. However, the reason why I mentioned to you earlier that a man should be capable of caring for multiple women, financially and otherwise, is because within this so-called, you know, conscious movement, we have a lot of people spouting out these so-called fantastic African ancient stories about, you know, Africans do it this way, you know, and Africans do it that way, and so you should be doing this as a woman because, you know, in ancient Africa, or, you know, in Africa, they do it this way and that way. And so I would always start with that, and that is me. Why? Because as a young woman, I'm at a different stage at 45. I've had my youth, and I'm really, really good, okay? Right. I'm very good. And I was not flitting around from man to man. I had 2 10-year relationships. and one back-to-back. And then, I was good at 40. However, a young woman who is 20, fertile, wanting to have a family, etc., I personally would not recommend that she walk into a situation where she has her own home somewhere separate from the other woman, separate from whatever, and now she is going to most probably have children with this man if they are having sexual intercourse. And so she is going to have these babies. And so for her to be asked to have to financially completely support these children from a man who has multiple homes and is not necessarily supporting any of the homes, he's just doing him, I find that problematic. Mm-hmm. Because as a woman who has done both, I had my first set in public school, and then my second set, I was very clear and sure that I wanted to homeschool them and be home with them. Now, a woman, when you're saying, well, you're buying a woman and, this, that, and the other, not necessarily, I don't see it that way, because when men say, well, what are you bringing to the table or whatever, mm-hmm. the woman is the table. That's my mm-hmm. opinion. Mm-hmm. She has the womb. If she is imbalanced, if she is balanced, if she is bringing everything that she possibly can, and spiritually, emotionally, and whatnot, she is the basket from which, the bounty flows. And so for her to have to bear the children, plus go out there and work, who's taking care of the children? Mm-hmm. And for me, when we talk about this conscious movement and this, that, and the other, and how it always starts with the mind and with the soul and these ancestors that are coming forward. So as much as we want the very best for our children, if we are bringing them into the world where the first thing they have to do is at 6 months be out at a daycare, if not 3 months. Mm-hmm. If you're not in a situation, or if you're in a situation where all women are working, and there's one husband, but all women are working, all women are out of the home, and now you've got all of these youths. Well, it's very, very difficult to combat the manipulation and the mind, the sublimation, and all that comes with public schools mm-hmm. and the schooling of these youths. And when you bring them home, and you're supposed to be RBG, and you're supposed to be doing all this consciousness, and every day you have to undo what is happening to these children on a daily basis.
Right.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it does get difficult. So it does.
If I'm 20 and a man is asking me to bear his children, but at the same time I'm supposed to pay my rent, yeah. I'm supposed to either, run myself ragged with a home job, trying to make some little jewelry or something or whatever, and have the youth out at daycare, I'm asking myself, what is the point of this?
Well, it's like we said earlier, or it's like you said, there is a difference between what will be required of a 45-year-old woman, or even a 35-year-old woman, and a 20-year-old woman. So, like you said, there is some flexibility in how things are done. The idea of the woman being that pot of bounty that the family rests upon. One of the people in the chat room asked if you could expand on that a little bit. I would say, could you expand on that, but also could you address the idea that that the woman is the bounty of the family, but yet the man has to have bounty and resources before he meets the woman. So if he has those things prior to meeting her, what does he need her for in that sense?
Well, how is he, then my question would be, how is he going to bring his children into the world?
Well, how he's going to bring...
if he brings children into the world, mm-hmm. Is he birthing the children? Is he nurturing them? Is he caring for them? Is he creating a full sanctuary within the home environment so that they can grow up whole?
Well, the truth is, if he's coming to the table,
for the community.
If he's coming to the table with resources, a man who comes to the table with resources is a man who's coming to the table with a strategic plan. So, kind of like what you said earlier with when a man says, well, what do you bring to the table? The truth is, A man with resources, a man doesn't ask that question. What do you bring to the table? You see what I'm saying? So it's like
Correct.
it's kind of
Men do.
you're mixing, yeah, like when you mix it, like it's difficult to address some of that. So, when a man is seeking to have a child, first of all, the plan is completely different. He's not falling into fatherhood. He's not slipping up. His pullout game isn't weak because he recognizes what a child represents. He recognizes what a woman represents when he has resources, especially in American culture. In most instances in American culture, a man with resources already bringing a woman into his fold and then impregnating her is now creating a huge liability in his life. A man with resources knows that. A man of means knows that. So he's already going to have certain things in place to accommodate that. Now, for instance, I'll just give my small example. In my family, women work for the family. I don't allow women to go out and work for alien cultures because it's disruptive to the order that I've established. When you're going and you're fueling another man's dream, or you're coming home every day and you're telling me for 2 hours, what your boss did to you. So then now I become a junior husband to that man and whatever his mission is.
Exactly.
So some men may have that structure. I don't know. I typically, I don't I don't know. I don't know too many other men who do, but that has always been part of my stipulation for a woman coming in, which may allow her to make a decision and say, well, you know what? I like my job. I like working for transit, or I like this or that. I'm not really feeling that. Okay, no problem. That it is what it is. But I think in terms of some of those scenarios, there's like a mixture there of what a male might do and what a man might do. Women who have children within my fold, they can incorporate their children into what they're doing. So the idea of I got to go out and work, and it just doesn't really gel. And again, when you have a plural situation, you're not dropping someone off at a babysitter. I've never had that. I don't think I haven't used, maybe a long time, a babysitter. So I just think it's an important idea, but it's also important to recognize that each situation changes. Now, if you get a woman who's 20, 21 years old, she's green, she doesn't have resources and things like that, you really will sit down with that woman because that woman may tell you, I want to live by myself. I like my space. Different people operate differently. Some women, they want to be up underneath you all the time. Some just come and knock the cobwebs out of my box. That's it. You can come see me once every strong or once every two strongs. when the itch rises up, you just come scratch this itch, player. Let the guys around the neighborhood see you. Circle the block a couple of times. Let them see you so they don't bother me, and go on about what you're doing. That's all I need from you. That's an arrangement too.
Right.
So I think. For plurality, and I just said, like, I'm a man who's practiced it for a long time successfully. It requires that level of communication and dialogue with each individual member. There's no cookie cutter way. And when you have men who say things like, well, back in Africa, we did it, like, there's no such thing as back in Africa. That's a romanticized fairy tale.
Right.
Because nobody on the continent says, well, here in Africa, this is, nobody talks like that. So, and you could go from village to village, and the way things done are different. And on top of that, some of the things we did were ass backwards. So some of that stuff didn't work. Some of the stuff we were still in the refining process, and you have to look at how far you're willing to go back when you say, well, back in Africa, like some people will say, well, back in Africa, the women chose who the woman was going to come into the family and da-da-da-da. Maybe some did and maybe some didn't. Just different ways that things work. Sometimes a man might just go grab a sister and say, here, you going to come over here. Or he might have a sister in another village. I've lived on the continent for a good while. So, I've seen so many different scenarios. So I'll just throw in the red flag of, like you said, or I'm co-signing your red flag. Let me say that. When you say that whole, well, we did it like this, we did it like that, that's a dangerous statement. And it's a very broad and tacitly delusional statement of what we did back in Africa, because again, it's like the business that you spoke about can't really be verified. And you can find it's a huge place, so you can find so many different pieces, you can find so many different pieces to corroborate whatever it is that you're saying. I'm sorry, I'm just taking something out the chat room. Go ahead, sis. Gullah Seminole, what the hell are you doing? Average price for Olokun initiation in El Paso. Come on, man. We're not even talking about that right now. Like, and I think I know who you are too. Like, keep it moving. Yeah, I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
No problem. And I can't even see the chat room, so
oh, they loving you.
I'm a little lost on that. But
they're giving you a lot of love and a lot of energy, and they checked out your site because I put your site and as well as the video in the chat room. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, one sister had asked to expound on the table idea, And before you go there, let me say this. About maybe 50% of what Sister Leah just said, I don't agree with. But you see, it's still loving and peaceful. She has a perspective. I have my perspective. It's all good. And ultimately, we might be representing. I meant to ask that question. I forgot. We might be representing two different communal perspectives as well. What may work for her community may not work for mine, and vice versa. I meant to ask you your affiliation early, but I was so excited to hear from jump in on the subject. I didn't do that, but I just wanted to put that out there for those who are listening, because they're probably saying this is not some of the stuff that Chief says. Right. See, Africa's a huge place. Huge. And we do all kind of different things. And there are cadres of women who express themselves the way the sister is expressing herself, and it's functional. It works. And there's cadres of men who express themselves the way I express myself. It's functional and it's work. And we can come to the table, her table, as she might put it, her womb, and we can put our paperwork on the womb and say, okay, well, look, this is what we do over here. Okay, cool. This is what we do over here. It's different than what we do. It's different what we do. All right, cool. Now that's the rainbow of the African consciousness, or the cognition of the stream of African consciousness. It falls into different frequencies. So I just wanted to share that before you continue, sis.
Well, I think that for me, one of the things that the years have provided me with was perspective. And so who I am at 45 is different from who I am at 20, and most certainly who I am or was at 30. So many of the views that I carry today are quite different from the views that I had at 30. In other words, to answer your question, I have no affiliation right now.
Okay.
And I'm quite comfortable with that, because I went from just pro-black, to Garveyite, into Rastafari, and then I went deeper into the Nyabingi segment, which for 10 years I would not leave the home without my head covered, and I had skirt all the way down to my ankle, no tight-fitting skirts, et cetera, et cetera. And so that is what I lived for 10 years after having gone through a few other stages of it. And so, yes, again, my perspective, based on my own experience, may be a little bit slanted to others. However, I have always prefaced anything that I say that my comments are always based, in my perspective, from a womanist point of view, not from a feminist point of view. So when I speak of the basket, when I speak of the table, et cetera, it is always with the foundation that both the male and female energies are counterparts and absolutely necessary, and one is not lesser than the other. They are simply different. And so that's very important for me. So even when I say bountiful basket, because I've had certain men talk about, well, it's really all about the man and his sperm, because without that she couldn't do, create the child, et cetera, et cetera. So he is, what's the most important component here. And that's, many views and whatnot, but I particularly
that's
follow.
Stupid. That's
the
dumb.
view that both are important.
Yeah, but we could call it what it is.
That
That's a
both
dumb
are.
view. That's stupid. That's suicidal. We could call when we hear stuff
Well,
like that, we can call that what it is. We're allowed to do that. You know, don't feel shy about that. That's suicidal. That's genocidal. That ideation that my
that's
sperm is more
that's relative.
important than your
That's
egg.
right. And that is, I've heard that quite a few times,
Yeah, I
both
know.
online and in.
Yeah, I've heard
So
it too.
then when I have a man question, if I say that I am a bountiful basket, that doesn't negate the fact that a man is also bountiful. So one is not the other, and it's always a shame when we discuss, because we always have to clarify. We always have to add a caveat.
Right.
We always have to add an asterisk. We always have to, go through all of this. And
That's because
so,
it's public.
to be honest, when I said, I'm sorry?
That's just because it's public conversation. So in the public, you have all sorts listening who may come with different agenda or different levels of in terms of their mental development. So you have to constantly do the asterisks to break it down. I'm not saying this, you say something about women, and you got to say, and I'm not leaving the men out too. You're not really,
Right.
and you can lean to one side if you want, but the backlash that comes from that sometimes is so unpleasant that it's just not worth it in that sense. But like I said, even with your idea of the table, the woman is the table, you talk about who brings what to the table. I take no exception to that, anything like that, because one, again, that's not even a phrase I would use. It's bigger than that, but maybe the woman is the table. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily take issue with that. Like I just said, if that's the case, then like it just seems a little confusing, because if he's supposed to have certain things in order for you to engage with him, but you produce certain things, then should he be looking for you to also have resources, and you should be looking for him to have resources?
Well, I think and I say it again, so we have to put that in context, because I preface that by saying a lot of males will say, well, what do you bring to the table? Then after that, I said, within this frame of discussion, the woman is the table, but that does not negate the fact that there is a house that table is located in.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So if you want to back that up, that table isn't sitting out in the wilderness. That table is in a home. And who provides the home, or which components provide that home? So again, that was within context.
Right.
So I'm not just walking around saying, yo, I'm the table, so what? You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying. I prefaced it by saying, anytime a woman will ask a man or ask of a man to be responsible enough to take care of both himself and her, if she is childbearing age or whatever, there's this whole uproar. Because there's this whole thing about now, men are not supposed to basically contribute to women at all. Just his very presence is the sun, and then, you just bask in it and keep it moving. But that is that whole internet warrior thing going on. Now, if you want to just take that statement and now break that down to an hour discussion about a man's light, I love it. I love men. I love their light. I love their energy. It's very necessary. So, again, it can be taken out of context. But when I'm talking about the woman is the table, and I'm going to, and to the sister's question, the reason why that resonates with me when that discussion of a woman is a basket or that's bountiful and plentiful, we can have a whole nother segment on how plentiful and bountiful a man is. But to say that, because a woman may not be bringing finances, that does not negate that she is still bountiful. And so what I mean by that is that in my years of living in West Africa, and I did not go as a visitor, I did not go as, I was hoping to repatriate. It didn't last, but I lived there for 4 years in Abidjan, and I lived with my first husband's family. So I was in a family situation. Right. I was not a tourist. So I got to watch women within their own indigenous setting without a whole onslaught of westernization, etc. Even within an urban city with the skyscrapers and et cetera, et cetera. We were not in a village. Okay. So when I speak to sisters about what I experienced, and I wasn't even able to really translate all of the experiences, they trickled in the understanding of it. Even to this day, I reflect on some things that I saw and did not resonate with me at that time as a 22, 23-year-old. But when I speak of a woman as bountiful, and I always share this with sisters who have wanted to go to the continent or who have these brothers say, well, you know, on the continent we do this and we do that, but they haven't been themselves. But they want to tell you as a woman what you should be doing as an African woman. Your first question should always be, well, when did you go? And did you go as a tourist in a hotel on a package deal, or did you live with the family and actually engage and converse and watch a family in place, intact, doing what they have to do on a day-to-day basis? That's your first question. If he cannot answer that, and if he's never been, bye. Now, the reason why I say a woman is bountiful is because I saw both women from the village, our family cousins that would come in, and I saw them interact, and I also saw business women. I saw my mother-in-law was one of the first midwives. Well, she had to be trained in France back in the 50s, 60s, but then she came back, created her own pharmacy, but was a midwife, et cetera, et cetera. But her daughter and my son, her son, who I was married to, but the daughter was a professional with Coca-Cola, West Africa, in their personnel offices. So she was a professional woman. And so I was able to see various women in various aspects of their life. And the women that were there, they had so much more support than women here doing everything.
From who?
So again, that brings me to another statement.
When you say they had so much more support.
Go out and work, she has to do this and she has to do that, but then she still has a man. Well, at what point, and nobody's doing the laundry, they would have cousins come in from the village, young 14, 15-year-olds who wanted to come to the city. One would do the laundry, one would take care of the youths, and maybe one would do the cooking if they had it enough to pay all three, and they would stay with them and board with them. So the woman who is working and building her career knew that the home situation was taken care of. But by bountiful, if you would ask her to throw down a meal, she's going to throw down a 7-course meal. She knows how to cook. She knows how to sew. She knows how to do various things. Plus, she's a businesswoman, educated. Handle that household before she left the house like clockwork. And she knew what was going on at every single time. She was birthing the children, but she also had that support. And so when you see a woman in her natural element, whether it be village or whether it be in the midst of a city with skyscrapers and they've got cars and they've got, their apartment and all of that, living in luxury, et cetera, she is bountiful naturally, as a man is. But we're not discussing men here in this discussion, and to the extent that I'm talking about the feminine contribution to the family. So when I say bountiful, please always understand, I'm not talking about some Western argumentative concept here. I'm talking about the natural feminine element, which is to maintain a home, which is a sanctuary, and maintain all of the members in the home from a spiritual and a feminine perspective. A man will maintain the home from a masculine perspective. But when I say she's bountiful, that does not negate his bountifulness. But I cannot abide by someone saying that the woman is lesser, and I can't understand what you mean by bountiful. That is not what we're talking about.
Well, no, hold on. Wait, let me get some. Are you thinking that's what I just said?
I'm not thinking what you're saying, but again, because we're having a public conversation, I am already projecting, and perhaps I shouldn't, as to what certain men would take what you said as.
Okay, well, let's get to, because, talking to my group understands things. So, we're not really addressing the greater public of male or female stupidity. We're talking to people who are educated in gender assignment and male and female responsibility. The sister who asked the question in the group, she asked for an exposition of the idea of the table specifically. to share more on that idea. The bountiful wasn't in question. The only thing that I said was,
okay,
in regards to your previous statement and in regards to what a woman should look for in a man, and I was saying that to provide clarity for the listeners. If a woman is saying that I am the table, that's what I bring to the table, I'm the actual table, and a man is supposed to have certain resources before he even gets to that table, then now what should he be looking for in that woman? So it was really just some points of like just some points of instruction to help those to understand that whole table example more. But as far as the idea of bountiful, we didn't even we didn't even touch on that really like that. No.
Okay, so I apologize.
It's okay.
I misheard that, and let me clarify myself when I say the table.
Mm-hmm.
When we discuss the interior and the internal portion of the home, when I use the metaphor of the table, I am thinking of everyone would come to the table to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone would come together at some point in the day and take nourishment. So the table, for me, is the internal foundation upon which people come for internal nourishment.
Okay.
So if the woman who is maintaining the household, who is cooking the foods, who is, if that's her thing, sewing the clothes or buying the clothes, making sure the children are maintained and healthy, what's in the food that she's cooking? What is the energy that she carried while she was cooking that meal? What is the nourishment that she provides on a daily basis, spiritually, atmospherically, and emotionally to her children as she is working with them on a day-to-day basis on how to navigate their growth into adulthood? So that table that she can be seen as metaphorically is her emphasis and her place and position within a container where other souls are being grown and maintained.
Mm-hmm. She's like the tree in the middle of the garden.
Children particularly come to a woman for nourishment, breast, as well as additionally others, and they are taking in her energy and vibes from even within the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And so I consider a woman a huge, bountiful source of nourishment.
Okay.
And so that's what I meant by that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that clarifies that.
If you are downplaying or dismissing a woman's position in the home in terms of raising the youth and maintaining a particular environment within the home, then that's a whole nother subject. And I can't really go there, and I don't I just can't do it.
Well, no one in the chat room downplayed a woman's position, and I didn't downplay a woman's position. So that dialogue would be for a different audience. Yeah, that would be for a different audience. You're on here, and we're having this discussion specifically to hear from a woman about the woman's position. The majority of the things that you're saying, I could share myself, but I think it's very inappropriate when men try to usurp that authority and speak about sometimes even the value of a woman, or what a woman should be doing or what she shouldn't be doing. I think it's blasphemous, and it can lead to perversion of perspective when men take on that role. So you're here because of that actual value that we see and what we want to hear about. So no, some of those discussions we don't have to really waste energy on because no one is asking that question. In fact, I know the sister who asked the question in the chat room. I know exactly why she asked. I know her very well. I know her perspective. So that was good information. And she just said, "Wow, so thankful I asked. Thank you, sister." She just said that in the chat room. So. Yeah.
But brother, one thing that I wanted to mention in regards to the social arena, is that yes, your family, and we mentioned that prior to me coming on, your family already has a certain understanding. But one of the things about the social media is that anybody can run across this on YouTube,
sure,
et cetera, et cetera. So yes, while I don't want to spend my time and energy expounding, and I'm so glad that we clarified that. However, as I'm thinking about my own experiences and the young sisters that I have spoken to, they are coming in from so many different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And one sister may come in to you because she's trying to learn something about Yemoja, for instance, and, she landed on, what I'm saying, one of your various channels, and then just landed on this. So while I don't want to, spend too much time on it, I do want to speak to the sisters, and you have repeated this a few times, and I think it's very important to mention we do have men online trying to tell a woman that she's evil if she is having her period. That, in other words, because she's having her cycle,
she's eating wrong.
She is dipped in jewelry, and this is what she needs to do to fix her cycle. We have so-called experts on Facebook, etc., and we have women. So I'm not talking about, whatever, women, men will say whatever they want. But I'm saying I have young girls who are on these men's page and co-signing this stuff and or completely confused, but are so willing and like a sponge taking in some of this information and thinking that, because he has a following on Facebook, that he knows what he's talking about. And so maybe I do need to fix my nutrition because I heard over here and I heard over there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I want to caution young women, when you're hearing these things, please, do your research, but also take your time to find women and research them as well before you approach them and begin to ask questions of them. I would not ever speak on my pages as a man and tell the black man how he needs to be, what he needs to be doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how he needs to be responding to life as a black man. Mm-hmm. I would not dare. And I do not ask that the black brothers tell a woman how, but within the Rasta movement, particularly those that I experienced, that was the main foundation of their discussion with women coming into that movement, was telling a woman about who she is, how she, Jezebel, et cetera, and how she needs to do X, Y, and Z, and how she is a daughter, DAWTA. And only after she has cleansed, she has done this, she has done wrapped up and covered up, et cetera, though he's over here oogling every mini skirt and chick with the red, gold, and green bikini on and calling her empress. But the women need to make sure that they're covered up and wrapped and all of that. And you will not be called empress until you have gotten your ital, you have gotten your mentality together, that you have sufficiently submitted to the order of X, Y, and Z. And so these young girls coming in are wanting to do anything they can to gain approval from a source that they have not verified, that they have not, and they don't even talk to the elder sisters. And a lot of the elder sister Rastafari and Nyabingi sisters are, stay quiet. They stay to themselves. And so that is, from my perspective, what a lot of the sisters that I know, we lament the fact that we do not have access to more outspoken sisters who are laboring under the illusion that if I say something about my personal experience, I am being labeled as a feminist, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the browbeating and the emotional manipulation is strong. But throughout all of the communities, young girls, a lot of them come in through the man. Mm-hmm. Not all, but most that I have encountered.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, the men do most of the recruiting. That's true.
Come in, and that's okay. If the brother has character and whatever, okay. But he should also, on certain things, in my opinion, be directing her to other sisters to talk to them about certain things that have to do with the feminine perspective. Mm-hmm. But when you have a brother trying to teach everything about your womanness and what your position is within the movement, you may find yourself having a problem. Because if he is not of good character, if he is not of good standing and actually working against the black family, then now you're stuck with youths and no support and him running around behind the next victim. And so with the whole situation that we have going on, now you can say, of course, she walked into it, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of these 18 and 19-year-old girls who have this concept that they feel the vibes, they want more for the black community, they know something is wrong, and they're looking for help, and they come on these males, not men, but males, who are preying on that youthful energy and lack of knowledge. The child doesn't know where to go in terms of to verify, and she's young, hasn't had the father in the family. She doesn't know left from right. And a lot of these young girls are now, end up 30, 40 and just pissed and, just completely disillusioned and will have nothing to do with nobody that has anything to look like they're some conscious with Het Haru, whatever y'all's name, whatever's going on. Just no.
Well,
because now you've got the very opposite of what was proposed, which is promoting the black family, because now you've got babies out there with these conscious fathers all over the place and not involved in their life.
Let me ask you this, sister. In terms of that, what is it that, in your opinion, that young girls can do to kind of rebalance and align their character in a way so that they're not attracting those deficit or dysfunctional aspects of their character in their male counterpart? Because obviously, if they're attracting that type of vibration, they're not totally innocent of it themselves. So what do you think coming into it, what are some of the things that women can do, or young girls, maybe even before they become women, in terms of those gut checks or those alignments, so that they're attracting a better quality of mate?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I've actually been thinking about that all week, this week. Because even at this age, I am clarifying my alignment, so to speak. Meaning to say, I am reviewing my past, and I am taking personal responsibility for what I attracted into my life. But the problem I have with answering your question is that if a sister is not aligned, if she has imbalances, if she has 18, 19 years of recordings running through her subconscious that men ain't shit, from her mother or her aunties, if she has not had a positive, balanced representation that she has viewed all of her life, and then she's got the Disney aspect of, White Horse, all of this situation,
right. Prince
this
Charming.
total misrepresentation of what is the purpose of an actual relationship. It is not for everything that's been purported. And then all the TV shows, the feminist thing, the whole onslaught that you have this child dealing with. But yet her soul is speaking to her that something is wrong. So now when you ask me, well, what can she do? I have to step back and pause for a minute when I think of that, because I can give all of these pointers now, but I think of myself at 18, 19, and I may not have been open and receptive to that.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So therefore, I may not have been looking for that, and therefore been able to balance myself out prior to entering a relationship. So it's a little difficult for me to answer that. However, if a sister has somehow found her way to a little bit more information besides what I just outlined in terms of her background, I would say first and foremost, as a little bit older woman, I would ask her again to take her time. I would ask her to remove herself from media as much as possible, meaning shut the TV off. Spend more time getting to understand in silence her inner voice. Because first you need to a lot of times go through the dragons and this repetitive tape that's going on in your mind with all of your fears and your angst and your misaligned ideas about males and men and relationships and you not even knowing fully what is a woman's worth and value. We can tell you all day long, know yourself, but how do you do that? How do you get there when you've not had 18, 19 years of any steps at any time of how to get there? So one thing I would tell sisters is no matter what, if I look at myself as an 18, 19-year-old, my voice was always there when I replayed my life. My inner higher self was always there. I simply chose not to listen to it because other voices were louder. And the only way that I would have been able to is to step away from as much mediation as possible and get quiet and get still. And that takes months. But a lot of times youth are in a rush. We need a relation. A lot of women are, we don't want to be alone. We got our libido going on, and we got all of this, and we got brothers in our face, and it's all of that. And we want somebody, and nobody wants to be alone. But that's actually what you need.
Well, let me ask this question.
To know yourself.
Let me ask this question because you said something that I think, and if you don't have a timetable, that's okay. But you said learn to slow down, take your time. For a lot of people, they have no clue what that means. Because for some, slow down is 3 days. For some, it's 3 months. For some, it's 1 month. You know what I mean? So, if you could, in your mind, if you think, if you have a number, let's say I don't know, internet meeting or whatever, a young sister meets a brother, and she needs that time to go through that vetting process that you spoke about in your video, where you got a website? Let's check it out. Let me look at the Better Business Bureau website, see if there's any complaints against your website. Going through that whole process, almost like you're researching a company to invest in, because that's really what you're doing. But how long would you say when we say slow down? Because a lot of our listeners, they need numbers. And I'm not saying that y'all are non-thinkers or anything like that. I'm not saying that. Some of y'all are lazy, but I know that if you don't get a number, you'll start playing that little play game. Well, Chief, I did take my time, Chief. And you'll start playing games. So what would you say is a number that you would say, well, this number seems to work consistently in terms of time when we say slow down?
I would say before you even go into a deeper level, I would personally say 6 months is a minimum.
Now, what's a deeper level, though?
And that
is sex a deeper level?
Yes.
Okay, so 6 months before sex, and during that time of 6 months, what's happening?
During that time, that means you are having various life experiences with this person without sex to understand and gain a knowledge into their character and how they react, how they live, how they respond to various things, because you can't just know somebody in 2 weeks and say that you got an idea of how this brother is going to do X, Y, and Z if this happens and that happens, because you're basing it on everything he's written online. And I know that sounds ridiculous in 2017, that's 6 months. But
not at all.
How many relationships have I seen where it went hot and heavy in all of 2 seconds? And now 1 month down the line, all of a sudden, baby mama, something, and it was, some situation, and what had happened was, and all of that. Now it's 1 month down the line, and now all of a sudden you're getting some reality checks. So I personally, and then I'm going to take it further. I'm going to take it further to say, and what I told my 22-year-old daughter, of course she didn't listen, I would ask that you not even consider getting married until you are at least 27, 28. That's me personally. That's me personally.
Now,
unless you are so deeply advanced as a returning, soul that, you've got certain things together or whatever. But in terms of relationship time, I have heard of so many things happening after they already went for broke. And 2 to 3 months later, now you're getting to see him in real life situations that would happen down the road for several years, and now you're shocked and surprised.
Right.
So you can't, because people have so many facades, and people have so many, we all do. Women do too. come with all kind of angles and all kind of things of what we want to be, what we're projecting as who we are, but it's not really who we are.
Right.
And especially now with social media and all of that, people have perfected that down to a science of being anything you want to be and saying anything you want to say for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
But let it pass 6 months. And you can think back to your own relationships. At 6 months in, even friends, your same-sex friends, you knew a lot more about them at 6 months than you did at 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew even more after a year. But see, this is the thing that is very difficult for us. And I get that. You know, you're trying to get yours and all of that, and you're lonely, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may think it's a little bit difficult to wait 6 months, but I would say that would be a bare minimum, particularly if you are a young woman ready to establish a family. What do you look like at 2 months in pregnant by this man that you don't even know? Bringing in a soul with all of this DNA and intergenerational stuff going on in this soul that's coming out that you now have to raise for the next lifetime.
Right.
And you don't even know this man.
Right.
But you're bringing in children. And then mad because he's, not who he was 6 months down the line.
Right. Well, I would say something to add to that, the whole 6 months ideology. That's a little bit longer than what sometimes I recommend as a minimum, but it's still a good minimum. And the reason I usually will say 3 to 5 months, and the reason I say that is because when you're with someone, you want to allow yourself to go through a season with them, a literal because people change, from spring to summer, winter to fall, and you start to see you want to observe a person's reset. Sometimes people go through what they call seasonal depression, and during their seasonal depression, things will come out that didn't come out before, so even co-signing, like I said, it's a little longer, but I would still say, 6 months is cool because it allows you to go through a season or two and to really get to see how this person even reacts and moves with change. Now, I know you're down south, so you ain't got, your seasons aren't as intense as up here, but that vibration is definitely still present. When someone goes to winter, to spring, to summer, you can feel the difference. Now, in terms of a woman waiting until her late 20s, and I was just gonna mention it, and somebody put that in the chat room. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said about the same thing for men. She said they shouldn't marry until at least 30. And I definitely say, men, my thing is I don't think men should even marry into their late 30s, early 40s, and in this society here, because most of the time, the things that you truly need to bring to the table, unless you're just a go-getter, you're a total beast, the things that you truly need to bring to the table in order to manage and govern your household intelligently and peacefully, a lot of times you don't really have together into your late 30s. And that includes businesses, that includes real estate, that includes stock investments, that includes understanding what an IRA is, how to look at a balance sheet, having an understanding of accounting, having an understanding of basic law, having some stamps on that passport, traveling a little bit, slaying your demons. By the time you get to the age, as a man, a lot of your demons have been slayed. Even some of your sexual demons. I wanted to have a 3-way, 4-way, 5-way. You've gone through some of those things, so you're not bringing all that debauchery on the set. Now that may mean
unless she's down with it.
Which is that's cool, but you know what? That's an important part. Unless she's down with it. Usually, when a woman gets a little older, she can be more honest about that. A young girl is, well, I don't be doing this. Don't tell nobody. And she want to do it. When she get older, she got she get a hat with a picture of whatever the act is on it. Like, I does this. So. Sometimes, you can have a much more peaceful situation by waiting months, like you said, and even by waiting years. Someone had put in the chat room, it took them 10 years to figure out, what was what. But nowadays in American culture or Western culture, if you were raised under that, and I'm not making that assumption for everyone, like I wasn't raised particularly under Western culture. Some of us were raised, and like you said, you've been in this since you were 19, so that's pretty young. you know, in comparison with a lot of people when they wake up, you know, they come into the realness of themselves or the awareness of themselves. But in this culture, we mature very slowly. We're hyper sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
We're more sophisticated than other young people around the world, but we're really immature. You got a lot of adult children, you know, still throwing temper tantrums and things like that, which cause a lot of issues in relation, unnecessary issues, or again, like that rushing aspect.
Yes.
So, you know, I would definitely say, yeah, waiting a little bit is good, because at 27, 28, you probably really have the mentality of an 18-year-old. In all honesty,
Exactly.
you know, so
Exactly.
the scale, you got to work on a different kind of
Exactly.
sliding scale, you know, in
You
American
know,
culture.
and, you know, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, sis. I told you we rocking with you. I'm just throwing in my little manly interjections. That's all. But we rocking with you.
I hear you. But, you know, I always appreciate, you know, your share. It's been, you know, very enlightening for me the past year that I've listened, you know, to your recordings. It's
Thank
really,
you.
you know, hit it at the right time.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to, you know, it may sound random, but I just wanted to share this with sisters. Another point that I made in the video when I said cease and desist from this plural relationship discussion that we're having. And the reason why I said that was not only from the male perspective and all the shenanigans and whatnot that's going on and it's been thrown at sisters, but I want to share with sisters from a feminine perspective. Y'all ain't ready. I wasn't ready. But the reason why, and I'm not specifically talking about this group that we're you know, that's listening in. That's not what
we
I'm
get it.
saying. I'm saying
Generally.
in general.
Yeah.
So don't take it wrong. I'm saying in general. And this is one of the things that I have had to discuss with several young sisters, you know, Facebook inbox, etc. Because looking back, I look at it and I say, well, that's a part of, you know, something that I desperately wanted to learn, and I entered in that. But for me, I fear that a lot of young sisters may be told about, you know, polygamy, etc., and it may sound good on the surface, but what I find from many middle and older sisters that have already been through that, that it really was not something that they were, it wasn't a bridge that they were able to cross emotionally.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that conscious as you may be, feel spiritual, you're meditating, you're doing all of this, you got your crystals, you know, you're working it, but issues of the heart and the programming and the understanding that we have from a very small child in regards to the purpose of a relationship and the exchange between man and woman, it's something that is very, very difficult for a lot of sisters, even though they may say so, which is why I'm bringing this up. You want the man, and you are thinking that I can change him, or maybe I can change this situation that you yourself are walking into, or maybe there's the competitive component. Maybe, you know, I can become number one because I'm young, I'm fresh, you know, my stuff is bumping, all of that. And now you got this older first wife here, and, well, you know, shoot, give me a little bit, you know, he'll be at my place most of the time, shoot. I ain't playing with you know, you got all of that going on, and you play it off like you don't hear yourself saying that. But it has been a huge issue within the Black community with those that I've already spoken to that have dabbled in it, is the drama that comes out from within the women that claim that walked into it and said they could deal with it because they wanted the man. But they could not get with the whole concept of sharing. They could not get with the concept of a man being able to love more than one. Or there is always this shady concept that we play on ourselves, because we end up playing ourselves as women, a lot of us, by thinking that we can somehow change the situation once we're in it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get surprised when he's good. He's still him. He's still doing him. And if he's a man of character, you know, he's done exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to be married to both you and her.
Right.
And should he find another one that he vibes with, etc., he's fixing to check her too. Now, you mad. You in there. You know what I'm saying? You thought, okay, well, I'm going to change him because, you know, I'm in here, you know, I'm young and, you know, breasts are high and, you know, I'm dealing with it. And you thinking that, you know, the brother is going to be good after you. And now, so all I'm saying, sisters, is from so many levels, like we could do separate shows on different concepts within it, but it is not something to play with.
No,
if,
not at
if
all.
you're listening to this outside of the group, the main group that's listening to that, you have this video, don't be fooled by a brother that's telling you it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, because he cannot speak from a feminine perspective. He's only telling you from his perspective and what he has understood from his first wife in terms of the clarity and the honesty of their interactions, how she handles it. But however, he cannot speak for a woman in her heart. And if you have grown up on it's one-on-one and I don't share, and they said, but I really dig this brother, he's all of that, so let me just, you know, ease on in here, and then I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to make this woman go, I'm going to make this woman go, and it's going to be all about me. A lot of sisters don't want to admit to that, but a lot of times you have that going on internally because you want the man.
Right.
So that's something I tell a lot of sisters, too, in our personal message. She really thought she was going to do something. And I will be completely honest. I initially thought I had that going on.
Being a 19-year-old one.
Which I don't know.
Well, no, your polygynous relationship was not at 19. That was when you were 30? That was the polygynous relationship? Or the one at 19?
Correct.
At 30. Okay.
No, 30. My first husband was West African. And, you know, it was not polygynous. Right. But my second one it was a Rastafari. But even though my first husband was Rasta also, but she was older.
Right.
And she was not childbearing. So I had this whole thing, okay, you know, and because I had been, you know, vegetarian, vegan for over 10 years, you know, I'm 30, but I'm looking like
you're
I'm
glowing.
22.
Right. You're glowing and you got pep in your step.
Children.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said you were glowing and you had all that pep in your step and your locks probably smelled real sweet like frankincense and all that other good beguilement.
Listen. Okay?
You were real bedazzling.
Listen, I had it going on. Not that I don't have it going on now at 45, okay? But I had it going on at 30, okay? And then I had all this desire and willingness and submissiveness. You know, I had already been to Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had it going on. You know, size 2, but still, you know, had everything going on and everything. And I had brought back my African gear and everything. Oh, man. You know, and I knew that I was going to go up in there and handle it.
Right.
And I got a rude awakening. No, I am not leaving my first. No, I'm not doing. No, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was all this competitive stuff going on, and I'm stepping aside from all of his stuff. But I'm saying deep within myself, and I'm very honest with myself. I went in there thinking that, okay, well, you know, I'm not really polygamous, but, you know, hey, I want him, and, you know, he's really got it going on, so let me just, you know, step up through here and then do what it do. But it didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen like that. But you know, there's something within me and within my soul, because I'm a double Scorpio, and I got to go through stuff, you know.
That's why you're so mean and fiery. Okay, that makes sense. That's why you so mean and fiery. That's why we got that stinger earlier. Yeah. Oh, you turned around and took the sting out.
Well.
Yeah, no.
No, that was some sweetness.
Sweetness.
Don't be trying to, you know. I'm extra sweet.
You know how honest I am.
You know, you're more child over here.
The whole chat room. You froze up the whole chat room. The whole chat room froze. They were scared to type.
Oh no. Well, I feel you. Y'all. It's all love.
Yeah, I'm messing with you. If it wasn't all love, I wouldn't even joke about it. If it was something else, I wouldn't even crack jokes about it. This is like I always tell you know we when we call each other brother and sister, we got to really act like that. So when we when we express ourselves, it's okay to laugh at ourselves sometimes, or to say like, yeah, like, it's all right. Everything doesn't have to be a declaration of war. It's all good.
Right.
And matter of fact, before you go further, let me get something from you real quick, because we're going to be closing down kind of soon, and I already know, because I know my audience very well, I know they're going to want to build with you. So is there a place, or do you have any contact information that you do allow people to link with you at, that they can link with you?
That word build. I'm fitting to run, right?
Yeah, sister, let's nation build. Let me put my seed in your dark earth, my sister. Yeah, let's build, sir. For the youths them.
And any het heru, I'm gonna just preface all of this. Any het heru, any whatever, please mention in your comment that you listen to the show, because any other one I do not.
Goodness, she's taking
DMs
heads.
Be live, and I cannot do it.
I'm
just saying. I'm joking though.
No, you're not.
You know what? Because I deactivated my Facebook account.
Okay.
And people been having problems adding me because I have like over 2,000 friend requests. I don't answer them. I've just been going.
Everybody wants a piece.
Answer my Instagram DMs if you're not coming with some mess. But also, my email is Poetic Leah. So that's P as in Paul, O, E, T as in Tom, I, C, Leah, Leah, at yahoo.com. And so that is one of the mails that's a general catch-all for me. And so I will answer that, because I'm not even on my website as much anymore. I'm all about, excuse me, y'all, because I'm in the car. I needed to have some private time. So I don't know if you hear the honking or not. But, I'm about that money right now. And so bear with me if it takes me a little bit. I'm working 60 hours, 70, close to whatever a week. And I've really got a lot of short and long-term financial goals, which are really popping, and I'm excited about. And so, it might take me a little minute to get to you, but I definitely do have the heart and soul. I do want to communicate. Please understand, as much as brother, I know you understand too, if you're wanting consultation, I don't do that for free. I'm just saying, okay? Because
yeah, they get it. They know. Respect the woman's time. She already told you that she hasn't been she's not in a relationship right now, so that means she's holding herself down. So that means she doesn't have even an extra 5 minutes. 90 seconds, we're going into archives. She doesn't even have an extra 5 minutes to read your long behind dream, or to read your long story that you're writing about you and your dusty boyfriend Rollo. She doesn't have time for that. That's what she's basically saying. She's saying she's gonna feel out your spirit. If you send her a message and it feels right, she'll respond when she gets a moment, and that moment may be 3 strongs from now or a month from now, because that's how busy she is.
Actually not. Because I work online, I'm blessed to work from home, to be able to stay with my youth. I stuck to my dream of having homeschooling and whatnot. So, but that allows me to do my 65 to whatever hours a week. But the priority definitely is on my finances and what's paying me. And so it is what it is. But, it may take a couple of days, because before it would be like 20, 30 seconds. Oh, snap. Let me respond. I'm feeling you. I definitely want to help you out. But, so it may take me a couple of days. It's not 3 weeks. No,
the brothers
sure.
done messed it up for everybody. I know what it is.
Like that. Even if I tell you I can't help you, it's going to be in a day.
Seems like the brothers done messed it up for everybody.
Seriously. But, hey, it's all good. It was the learning experience that I claimed I needed and wanted. And despite it all, I love my brothers. You know what I'm saying? I love the male energy. And I would love to have more interactions in terms of talk, not all of this extra, with positive, with clear and sure charactered men who have that foundation, because that feeds me as well.
That's
you know
not
what I'm
gonna
saying?
happen.
Just in terms of
That's not gonna
making
happen.
sure I have that energy as
That's not gonna
always in my
happen.
life, because I'm not a lesbian. No shade, no shade. I'm just saying. I like men. I like the male energy. Okay.
You got all these qualifiers. You got all these disqualifiers when you talk.
I do.
What?
It's crazy. That's why, I haven't had a live conversation with somebody in years. I've been cocooned.
I'm with you. I'm with
because
you.
of
Yeah.
that very thing.
The dumb
Because
comments.
of that very thing. We follow numerology, and I have a 7 soul, and my birth date is 11/11. So I got a lot of numbers going on here, and I just don't do extra. I can't do it anymore. Not at this age. You know what I mean? I'm not exploring anymore.
Well, I could tell you this in terms of that desire you have for male energy. Ain't no men gonna be friends with you, so you can forget that. If a man is sitting there talking to you and rapping with you, you're gonna have to give it up. If he's talking to you and he giving you that time,
Right.
you're gonna have to come up off it. He gonna have to put that work in.
Right.
So that's just how it is.
I'm not laboring under any illusion. No
Yeah.
worries.
That's why I even tell, a lot of the students, they think I'm real cold and standoffish. Like the women have said that about me, has gotten back to me like, Chief is cold. I'm not. I'm not as cold as y'all think. It's just that I respect protocol. And I'm not gonna we not gonna become friends. We not gonna be chit chatting and stuff like that. If we that cool, then I'm gonna bend you over my sofa and you're gonna get banged out. That's how it's gonna happen. But as far as us just sitting there and, hey girl, what you do today? Now, what you do today, Chief? And yeah, I got these shoes and nah, man, I'm not doing all that with y'all. I really don't want it. And men don't.
When I say by the male energy, even just the polite, I have a few, just a very polite, just checking in on you, whatever.
Oh no, they're not checking in. They're
whatever,
waiting.
But it's
they're waiting. They're in waiting.
It's real.
They're waiting.
Huh?
Ain't nobody checking in on you.
Oh,
That's men in waiting.
I labor under, listen, double Scorpio here, listen, I know that, and it might have been a day I was waiting for them in cut.
Uh-oh.
But I'm saying...
See, with the I always tell my listeners,
but I'm just
the
saying,
archives.
I labor under no illusion.
The archives is when it gets real. I always tell listeners, in the archives is when it gets real. So that's why everybody always stays on after that archive time. That's when the dialogue gets real. But yeah, no, I feel you. We all need that counterbalance, and I think even in terms of this conversation on air, it's very healthy because, like I said, some of the things you may have said, I don't particularly agree with, but it's definitely a good thing when we can learn how to love and have different perspectives and have different tables. You got your table, over the Leah table, and I got my Anu table over there, and we looking at it. I might say, oh man, you did a mahogany thing on yours. I should have did the mahogany, man. Dag, I did the satin finish. And we can enjoy each other's perspective and what each other is doing, and even hear and feel, because obviously in hearing you speak about it, you can feel some of the anger and the pain, the hurt that you've gone through. That's obvious, and it's important for us brothers to be able to listen to that, hear it, and then that's why and sidestep, because some of the things that some of these guys may be doing, I have my own things, and I'll speak about that in another show, but it's important for those formulating men coming up to understand sometimes the repercussions of your actions when you can have a woman who's, I think you said you're 45 or 44? I might have got your age wrong, sis.
Yeah, 45.
45, okay. Yeah, you could have a sister who's 45 and who's recounting things from 19 and 20 years old with such vividness. It lets you realize sometimes the lasting effects and the indelible impressions that your actions have on women. They're the sponge of the universe. They're the receptive energy of the universe. And like I've always said, they're the world suckers. So they take in everything. Mm-hmm. They absorb everything. Right. So a lot of this too, as Sister Leah is speaking in terms of like how women are basically fooled and beguiled. A lot of it just comes down, and I said this recently, and I know it was a hard statement, but young girls shouldn't be allowed to make so many decisions for themselves. That they're not equipped to make certain decisions at certain ages. As fathers, and I'm speaking of a father of a girl, as fathers, we have to take a harder stance a lot of times than we actually do.
Right.
We have to
Right.
be able to confidently say, listen, no, you can't do that. I'm not letting you do that. You're not going there. Or meet that boyfriend and say, listen, you bring that sucker around here again, I'm gonna break his legs. Period. Like, that's just it. Me
Right.
and your brothers are gonna
Right.
take him out back, and we're gonna F him up. And she could
Right.
cry, oh my God, I got it. Whatever, go cry and get over it. Go listen to some music. So a lot of these things that the sister again is sharing or is based around, you could tell there was a lack of covering in many senses. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite books back in the day, what was it? My Father's Daughters. Our Father's Daughters. What was that sister's name? I don't know. I've been thinking about that the past couple of days, and it's escaped me. I got the book in storage. But it was a story about the sister that told the story of her life, and her father, was he a janitor or something like that? But he had all three of his daughters to grow up in the 60s or whatever to become doctors and whatnot, and he was a very stern father. They were not allowed to do this, that, and he was very much involved in his life, but he managed to get all those girls through college.
Right.
All of them married with stable lives. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that we as women will buck at. Well, I'm not going to, my father tell me, who cares? But he got the job done.
Right.
He got the job done. And it requires him to have a certain character and to be completely involved in their lives and have
Absolutely.
a say so that even the mother and everybody,
Right. Couldn't
understood
skirt
what
around.
he was trying to do, even if it
Right.
wasn't the easiest path.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a BET little movie on it or something.
Okay.
But that was one of my favorite books because I didn't grow up after a certain age with my father, but I was the closest to my father, and I totally understood how much that has affected my life.
Okay. A brother in the chat room, Low, he just
sometimes-
said, is it the ditch digger's daughter? A brother just put that in the.
There
in
you
the
go.
That's
Bam.
it.
That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's it.
All right.
That's it.
Ditch
That's
digger's
the book
daughter.
there.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for correcting me, honey. Because that was, I love that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us sisters go out there and choose our fathers. I know my second husband was very much like same work, and I didn't realize that, but I was the daughter, the baby's, the father's daughter, so to speak. I looked like him and everything, and once he left, it was a situation, but I'm just saying that a lot of these sisters, you're very right when I don't disagree with that statement that, a lot of young girls really need a little extra oomph, especially with everything that's coming at them.
Right, especially
in this
nowadays
day and age,
too.
If,
Yeah.
and they won't be feeling it at all, but they will thank you down the road when they don't have 4 babies by 4 different baby daddies and abuse everything else. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it gets that real. And, as men, sometimes you got to recognize, too, that it's not just your children who will look at you like, oh, my goodness, but it's also those around you who you have to be able to, with my family, I've always been like Tupac, like me against the world. So I don't give a F what anyone says. We eat this way, we dress this way. Yeah, we got weird names. we got all that. But we're doing something different that the world, it may not understand, but the world is going to profit from it because I come from good stock. What comes out of my loins is amazing stock, and I recognize that. And I pick good stock to put my fertilizer into. So based on that, the average person may not even understand the idea of pedigree. When you're forming and you're shaping children and you have good pedigree you're starting with, and you want them to be people of great report and people in the world who are going to do great civic things, then it's going to have to cause you to go against the grain, and your children may not understand sometimes, but that's also, it comes to community too. If you put your family in an environment, I'll give you a good example because I got to go soon. I got to do a reading. Actually, the sister is popping up. Okay. But Anu Asafo, which is the name of one of our show segments, that name actually originally was the name of a summer camp that I designed. Anu Asafo, and it was the whole idea of the summer camp. I had one day I was at was at an African dance class, and I was drumming with one of my elders, my Abba, and I was looking at the youth just running through. And you know, at dance class, like the youth are wild. They flipping over chairs and stuff because a lot of times when you have African dances in gymnasiums and stuff, so they get a chance to just wild out. And I was just, as I was drumming, I'm looking at the children and I'm saying, you know what? We need some type of experience where children with these long behind names and, you know, all these locks usually covered with a crown and these dashikis, and they need to go into an environment where they can meet other children who look and eat just like them. Because a lot of those children, I know they were in public school and stuff like that. You know, kids tease, they try to take their crown off their head. What you got underneath there? You know, stupid stuff like that. So I had actually established a summer camp for a little while. And, you know, we taught different things and whatnot, but it was called I Knew Asafo, based off of that same ideology. So a lot of times, even when you're raising your girls, which is a precious thing, it's much harder than the boys, because the boys will pretty much, you know, boys get penis envy, you know. So if you're a strong man, like my youth still trying to beat me up. It's never going to happen, but they still, I'm walking by, yo, get him. They still try to jump me regularly, you know, because they got that penis envy, you know. So it's still like, no, he's the alpha. We got to take the alpha out, and I like it that way, because, and I'm always gonna make sure that I'm larger than life. I'm gonna be smarter than any person they come across. I'm stronger. I'm like Rick James. I'm the best dancer. I'm the best singer. I'm all that. So I'm gonna always give them that to strive to. So with the boys, it's easy, you know, just dominate them jokers and then tease them when they can't do what you do. You're like, yeah, you can't do this. You know, it's easy with boys. But with girls, you got to really, a lot of times, put them in communal and social environments where they can make friends with other young girls, or even with boys of their cohort. You know, something as simple as like when you link up with another sane, conscious family. And I do this all the time. I look at those children. I look if the little girls are cute. If the boys look like they're going to be tall, I look at the father. And I have those conversations. Look, man, you know, your youth around the age of my youth, listen, when they get around that age, let's try to diabolically coordinate a courtship. You know, because I know you, I know the boy, you know, the boy may call me Bob or may call me uncle, this or that. So I know if something happens, he knows I'm coming for his throat. So, you know, it's establishing those communal connections too at the same time are very valuable when you're raising these young girls, and you want to put them in an environment where they're sheltered and covered by several men. And they're understanding that dynamic, that not every man who comes up to them and hugs them is going to try to grab their booty or want something from them. You know, those are important dynamics as well.
It's that balance that is so, oh my gosh, it's so healthy and required. And unfortunately, there's a lot of families that are not near other families that are isolated like that, and it makes it very difficult for the youth growing up, you know, to see those that are like themselves, who eat like them, you know. And I've seen many families that are, you know, for instance, within the Rasta community, Naya Bingi all the way, head wrap, crowns all the way up to, and then no matter what, by the time they were teens, you know,
they go left.
With the
yeah, I've seen that too. They go far left.
Yeah. And then you know what? A lot of times they tend to come back to center. So sometimes too far right and left, you know, it's too much for a child sometimes when they don't have a reflection in others that are like them.
Right.
But eventually, sometimes it takes 10, 15 years, and they finally come back and understand, well, this is what they were doing.
Right.
And this is why. And they begin their locks, but for a reason that's personal to them. So I definitely feel you on that. And I know you mentioned you had to go. It's not to cut you off or anything, but I do understand.
Yeah, but give thanks,
one has
sis.
to flex. And I just wanted to let you know I'm very, very thankful because I have stopped talking, so to speak, just really focusing on manifesting within my own life and making sure that my energy is aligned with my ultimate goal, and it has been extremely powerful this year for me. And so, to be able to reflect on speaking publicly again has been, it's been a fun week for me, just thinking and meditating on it. And I really want to give thanks for all the energy and time that you've put into sharing, and doing what it is that you came here to do. And I want to give thanks to the whole family, because I know it's not easy. And so you're doing what you have to do to move forward and push this and be an image as well as in action representatives for those of us who are looking for guidance and assistance in our own life. So I really want to give thanks for this time and give thanks for everyone. I wasn't able to read the comments, but, thank you for sharing what you did. And much love always love in my heart. And I just want more of what we are to take place and to manifest in this life so that we can fulfill our destiny, not have to repeat certain things that we keep seeming to redo, So I'm just very thankful.
Yeah. Give thanks, sis. I appreciate that, and definitely appreciate you coming through. You showed right up, and in great form. And for everyone who's listening, I put the links to the video in the chat room again. And what I'll also do is I'll put for those of you who are at work and stuff and sneaking this in, which I know is a lot of you. I will put the link in the description for that video that sis did, because like I said, it was really good. The way she broke things down and just shared some pointers and even looking at the interaction, and towards the end she got a little saucy. The sisters, they were cracking their little jokes and talking about some monkey claws, having to cut some brother's toenails, and he had some monkey claws, something like that. Right. So they got a little saucy, but
we did.
But that's what sisters do.
I will tell the truth.
But it was beautiful. No, it was beautiful because even with that, that's how y'all communicate. I love to see sisterhood and camaraderie. So just to see them being able to share like that. So go check out that video and like it and share it, do all that stuff that they tell you to do with YouTube videos to boost them up. Because like I said, it's got under 100 views, and that's the ridiculous part. And a lot of times you find gems. That's a gem. It may not have the largest views and everyone's talking about it, but a lot of times the good stuff is tucked underneath there. And that was a good little clip sis did. So yeah, check that out. And like I said, I put the links in the chat.
One of the things that is most valuable I have found in all these years, just very quickly, is when we do things for likes and for sharing, et cetera, a lot of times the energy is dispersed. But that was truly just a internet Periscope face-to-face interaction with some of my most beloved sisters. And I did it from the heart, and it just something, told me to share it on YouTube. But I'm not even active on YouTube, so I didn't do it to share, so those that have even seen it up to 53 or whatever it is, I've been surprised because that hasn't been my platform. And I just really had enough. I'd had a couple of IMs on Facebook. A sister was really going through it, and I just had enough. And so I just shared it from the heart in hopes that those who were participating could understand, that they're not alone. Right. They're not crazy. A lot of times we're made to feel that we're crazy for feeling what we're feeling when we're going through this situation. So it really wasn't for likes or for anything. And so I give thanks, and I think another sister, I've forgotten her name, approached me on Facebook about the video several months back. And, I was thankful because it wasn't for sharing. I mean, in the sense that, I wasn't looking for an audience for it. Right, I just happened to put it there because, Periscope only holds it for 24 hours. So those that missed it had said, hey, I missed your Periscope. I heard about it. Can I see it? So I uploaded it. But those are typically the ones that are truest to the heart, for no other ulterior motives. And so I'm always thankful for those who do, from time to time contact me because they've seen that and, really were feeling it. So give thanks.
For sure. All right, everyone. So we are going to close out. I have this sister. I'm now 16 minutes late. The sister from Australia. She popped up on my Skype, and she's been very patient, which I appreciate. So I'm gonna go over there and deal with that, and we'll be back. What's today? Thursday to Friday. Tomorrow we'll be back. It's the AM call, so 7 a.m. So we'll be back with the 7 a.m. show, and we're gonna dig into some other things, some more, and of course, I'm sure we're gonna continue this discussion in different forums and things like that, because I can tell, it helped a lot of people. So thank you again, Sister Leah, and all of those who came in and gave responsible commentary. And we'll be back soon enough tomorrow dawning. And that has been community for today. All right. So everyone, be well, be safe. Make sure you do something beautiful and helpful for someone today. It makes you live longer. Trust me. All right.
Absolutely.
Until such time.
All right. Peace, y'all.
All right. Cool. Peace.